So you're presumably watching this video because you're preparing for Mr. Pandolfi's science exam tomorrow. We agreed to go through some of these questions, and we didn't get through everything, so I'm recording them on video. And for those of you who couldn't make it into class, we'll go through these things as well. So what I thought I'd start with is the biology video, the biology review. This is just a matter of what I'm going to do for the bulk of this is just go through the answers. You can use this information to review, look at some things. This isn't the complete thing. I should point out you should have some other notes. I strongly recommend you read any notes that you have as well for the biology unit. Biology there's a lot of remembering terms and words, and there's no way I could go through all of them. But we'll try to do the best we can with the review that we've got. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to answer these questions. So we've got the first question that we have in the review. I hope this is the first page that you have. I may have, I don't know if I've scanned this particular document very well. I know that one page that I have is half scanned, and I don't know if I'm missing other ones because I don't have the original copies with me. I gave those to students who came by and didn't have their copies. So let's just answer this. So first, the cell cycle. The cell cycle is that repeating set of events in which a cell grows and divides. So this answer would be D. The cytoplasm is that it's like that soup that all of the organelles float around inside the cell, this jelly-like substance that fills the cell and surrounds the organelles. So this answer would be C. Mitosis is the stage in the life cycle of a cell in which it divides into two daughter cells. So that would be B. Regeneration is the process in which a body part is replaced or regrown, and that will be E. And of course the last one will be A, and that's the stem cell, which is an unspecialized cell that can form more specialized cells. Before I move on, because I don't know if I have this, if this is anywhere else in the notes, of course, mitosis is broken up into, it's one of the stages of the cell cycle, but it's also broken up into 4 other stages that you should be familiar with. I hope you remember these terms. The first phase, we call them, of mitosis is prophase. The second phase would be metaphase. This would be followed by anaphase. And the last would be telophase. We usually use a mnemonic to try and remember this order. So you could say, usually it's a goofy little phrase. Say, remember something like, please make apple turnovers. Okay, so the idea is it's the letters. We're after the order of the phases of mitosis. It doesn't have to be please make apple turnovers. It's something goofy that you're going to remember that's going to help you remember this order, P, M, A, T. The prophase is followed by metaphase, and then which is followed by anaphase and then telophase. So prophase is where all of the can't remember the term, the chromosomes. When all the chromosomes sort of bunch up and come together at the center of the cell. Metaphase is when they start to sort of line up and sort of pair off because they're basically, you take the chromosomes and you split them in half. First they have to sort of double as they prepare for it. They sort of pair up and then they split in half. So metaphase is when they do all their pairing up. Anaphase is when they start to split apart. And then telophase is the final part of the mitosis where it actually splits off into the two daughter cells. So that's the first one. We can go through some of these questions. I'll select ones that'll be a bit better for the exam. All of these questions you can answer, but we'll concentrate on ones that are going to help for the exam because we're down to the last day. So, which organelle is present in plant cells but not in animal cells? Well, this would be the cell wall, or answer B. Make sure when you're answering your exam, go through the questions and maybe circle the answers. But you're going to be answering on those Scantron cards. Please make sure that you double check that you've whatever answer you've picked from the exam paper, that you've written it properly on the Scantron, because the Scantron is the one that we read. So the one that you put on the Scantron, that's the one that we read. And we might not catch that you've written the right answer somewhere else. So please make sure that you copy those things over to the Scantron properly. Let me go down to the next page. So we'll skip number 7. Move on. Now it looks like there's missing 8, 9, and 10. So this is what makes me think that I might be missing some pages. My guess is that if those are on there, I didn't scan them because I maybe looked at them and I thought they weren't important. So if they were there, we'll ignore them. If they're not, if this is just a discontinuous set of questions, then we'll just go with what we have. So the process under which cells undergo a controlled death, that's not going to come up, so we won't worry about that. By the way, it's apoptosis, if you're keeping score. So that's me. What are the powerhouses of the cell? These would be the mitochondria. That's D. How are cancer cells different from normal cells? Cancer cells reproduce uncontrollably. That's B. Again, if you're keeping score, just go through. You can ignore that one. In fact, I'll stop answering the ones that we should ignore. What's the relationship between tissues and organs? Well, tissues, basically, it sort of goes like this. You start off with cells are the simplest structures of life. That's as simple as it gets. When you get many cells together, they form tissues. So your skin, skin would be actually an organ, but there's parts of your skin that you could call tissues. Your muscles are tissue, muscle tissue. It would be a collection of cells all working together. Those tissues then form organs. So, for instance, let's look at the cells. Cells come together to form tissues that would be, say, the heart muscle tissue. Those different heart muscles that work all together, when those tissues all work together, they form organs to work together. And then organs, many organs will group together to form body systems. So this is sort of the order that they go in. So cells are the simplest. Tissues are a bit more complex, combinations of cells. Organs are combinations of tissues that all work together, and then systems are a combination of organs that all work together. That's the basic organization of these life structures, living structures. So let's take a look. So we say, what's the relationship between tissues and organs? It says tissues are composed of cells while organs do not contain cells. Well, that's not true, because if organs contain tissues and tissues contain cells, then organs have cells. So that's not true. Organs contain cells while tissues do not contain cells. Well, again, that can't be true. It's true that organs contain cells, but that's because they contain tissues which contain cells. Well, that's not true. Tissues are composed of several kinds of organs. Well, it's actually the other way around. It's the organs are composed of several kinds of tissues. So that's answer D. And one thing too, you want to try out as you're working on these exams. Try this process of elimination. If you know this sort of structure and you can pick questions that don't make sense, you may get down to, say, 2 questions. Maybe you've got 4 choices and you get down to 2 choices. Well, now you've just increased your odds by 50, like from 1 in 4 to 1 and 2, so you've doubled the odds of guessing, even if you have to guess. Okay. Okay, we'll skip question number 15. Let's skip all of these questions. This whole page, I probably could have omitted scanning it. Now, there is a diagram in your review package. Now, those of you who came and saw the review, you would have, I gave you this diagram. This is actually the diagram, this is in your text, the textbook for the course. So this is the textbook image. That's all I took. And so these are the parts of an animal cell. The big difference is, we'll talk a little bit about that. Most of these things, all of these things that you see in the animal cell, will also be in the plant cell, with a couple of differences. In a plant cell, there's a couple of organelles that are missing from here. The first one would be that there's a cell wall. And the second would be that there's, sorry, there's an organelle called the chloroplast in a plant cell, and that's the organelle that's responsible for the main part of photosynthesis, which of course only happens in plants, doesn't happen in animals. So the chloroplast is responsible for photosynthesis. The cell wall, for what it's worth, is responsible for the structure of plants, because plants need to sort of stand on their own. They don't. Animals have bones. We have a skeleton to support us. Our cells don't hold us up. So we need the plant needs that structure, and the cell wall provides that as part of the basic structure of the plant. And then finally, the thing, and this is another question that's later on in this review, so we may even skip that when we get there. I'll just point back to this. In a plant cell, the vacuole is much larger. There is a vacuole here in the animal cell, but the plant cell is much larger. What I would suggest is this. I'm going to run out of time soon. YouTube has a limit of 15 minutes per video, so I'll see if I can get it. I'll just go quickly through these. If you're watching this and you don't have this sheet that you can refer to and review, send me an email to oddjobman@gmail.com, and I can send you this image with the labels. And this is the one that I think you should study from to prepare for your test. So quickly, I'll read through them. This organelle up here at the top left is the ribosome. This central piece of the cell is the nucleus, and then inside that's the nucleolus, but that's not labeled in here. Then here's the endoplasmic reticulum. That's the structure that's just outside of the cell, it's kind of surrounding the nucleus of the cell. The cytoplasm, as we talked about, is that jelly, the soup that everything sort of floats in. Vacuoles they mostly hold liquid to service the cell's function. There's the Golgi body over here. The cell membrane is the outer layer of the cell. Here are vesicles within the cell structure. The cytoskeleton is that sort of structure that everything sort of clings to on the outside. And the last organelle down in the lower right is, or sorry, lower left is the mitochondrion. So review that, practice this, remember them. You need to know these terms and where they are to be able to label a diagram, or at least recognize a diagram of an animal cell, of different cells. So let me go down. Again, oh goodness, we're coming up to 15 minutes. You can skip all these. Yeah, this